All right, guys, it's time for parts haul. So I picked these up. These are from Outcast Auto Works. He's a really cool guy, builds a bunch of stuff for F100s. These are lowering brackets, so I can mount the front shock lower, and that'll effectively lower the vehicle. So you see, it's about inch and a half or so lowering. This in conjunction with some lowering springs or cutting a coil should get me pretty close to where I want to be in the front end. All right, and the next part I got was a Ford 8.8 rear end out of the Crown Victoria. So like I've already said, the truck already has a Crown Vic front end. This is a matching Crown Vic rear end. For whatever reason, the previous owner decided not to install one of these. I think he thought that these were too wide to use, but you can use these and it's gonna be perfect for my application. And yes, for all you keyboard warriors out there who know about Ford 8.8s, I know the Ford Explorer rear end is narrower and it can be narrowed more, but for what I'm gonna do with this truck, this is gonna be perfect. If you wanna see why, you're gonna have to stick around for a while. We've got plans coming later on. So the one bad thing about buying used parts is this one is pretty rusty. The housing's fine. That's the only thing we're really keeping is the internals and the housings, and he did cut the e-brake cables, which really sucks. But I guess we're gonna have to get some of those from Rock Auto or something like that. I did also buy a drive shaft. Of course, they cut the one out, but they had another one. So I did this pretty much just so I can have the ends. I think this is gonna work with the transmission we're gonna use, and we know that this end is gonna bolt up to the rear end. So I think this is gonna work really well, and I already have some parts. And if I do decide to keep an aluminum drive shaft, then I already have most of the parts I need. They just need to get a longer tube and weld it up for me, and that should cut some of the costs. But before we really start messing with this, we need to get the truck running, so we'll get back on that. All right, guys, I got the fuel tank pulled out this morning. All right, what I do to get my tanks clean, drop the chain in there and shake. All right, after a few minutes of shaking out, this is what you get. The tank's still good. This is all just surface rust that built up in it. I had about 5 gallons in it before with no leaks, so this is just to make sure that we don't clog fuel filters and everything. So this tank obviously won't last forever, but it'll still be good for us for a long time to come. All right, well, I wasn't super happy with how good the tank looked the other night, so we're going to do it again with a little bit more chain this time. All right, so shook it up second time, and what I did was I dumped a couple, maybe a quart of gasoline in there, shook it up, and then dumped it out, and I did that 3 times, and this is what we got. So this essentially just gets all the dust that's left. So the last time I sloshed some in there, it actually came out pretty clean. So I know that I'm doing pretty good, but I think we're gonna be good on that. Go ahead and toss it back in the truck and yeah, get this thing going. But whew, all right guys, this has been a frustrating journey the last couple days. I don't have a lot of time to work on the truck. Trying to get this thing tuned up a little bit now that I've got fuel to it and everything. I can start getting the carburetor set. I have had a timing light on this thing, trying to get the timing figured out. There was one mark on the balancer down here, and it just did not line up to a timing light. I messed with it, rotated back and forth, didn't make any sense. Turns out it was actually on the other side over here. So I took that and referenced someone else's post, because this is a later model crank pulley because it has the power steering. He pulled one off like an 80s or 90s models truck and put it on this one, and there's a timing pointer on this side, and so I measured from that point back to where it should have been. So after finding that, I moved it over here and see if we can find it to that timing point right there. So that's the supposed magical spot where it's supposed to be in reference to the other one on the other side. Tried to tune it against that. It just would not, the timing was just way off. So finally, I did the right thing, pulled number 1 spark plug, got it at TDC, and as you can see,
those little teeth. You see TDC there, and you can see where my old line was versus my new one. So I was way off on the timing. So I'm gonna try to fire it up, get the timing light back on it, and see if we can get this thing timed correctly so I can finally start getting the carburetor tuned up and get this thing running halfway decently. So fingers crossed. And what do you know, that actually made the difference. So I marked where TDC was compared to the piston, and if I can bring you guys in there. I don't know if you're gonna be able to see it on camera or not, but we got it. It's running pretty good, other than the belts seem to be tightened up. Good response, so now I can start diving into this carburetor and get it tuned up a little bit.
Well guys, I thought I had things figured out with the distributor actually getting the timing mark, but it turns out I couldn't be more wrong. So I did get the timing mark found, and it was running pretty good. Unfortunately, after letting it run for a little while, timing just seemed to fall apart, and as I spent more time with the timing light, it looked like my timing was jumping around a little bit. So what I figured out after messing with it for a little while is the distributor itself was pretty much bad. I don't know if the bearings were messed up or the mechanical advance or what was going on, but the timing was not staying constant. It was jumping around about 10 degrees in either direction, so 20 degrees of total randomness that it was moving around. All right, I got the old distributor out, and it does have a lot of wear, if I can get to focus, on the gear, but nothing excessive. There was a lot of play between the shaft and the rotor button, but nothing too extreme, honestly. So I'm hoping that it's just simply worn out, but we'll find out. Motor's timed over, so stab this thing in here. I do have one problem. This has different terminals for spark plug wires than the original one, so I will need some new spark plug wires. And I probably will go ahead and get another set of spark plugs. So all fresh, all clean, and hopefully we can get it running halfway decently. I ended up getting a new distributor. I got an HEI distributor, and I forgot to film pretty much any of it, but picked up a new HEI distributor and got new spark plug wires for it. Got that completely wired in and timed, and man, it runs so much better now. It fires up immediately. The vacuum advance works on it, and everything is going pretty well. So unfortunately, again, I didn't shoot any video of that, so I just have these pictures that are popping up over it. But the truck is finally running really well now. Gas tank's cleaned out. We have the ignition system figured out, and the carburetor was pretty much ready to go as it is. Pretty much all my problems were based off of timing and fuel delivery. So we've got a good running truck now, so now we need to make it look a little bit nicer, but we're going to do that in the next episode. If you guys aren't already, make sure to find me on Instagram at Petrol360. You'll see a lot more pictures of the truck and stay more up to date, because these videos take a long time to actually come out. And if you like the video, hit a thumbs up. And if you want to see more of the build and what else I've got going on, make sure you subscribe. So thanks, guys. We'll see you next time.